Welcome back to A2 Zoysia. The yard looks kind of rough in this camera picture, and you see the tire tracks because we had two massive storms back to back, Friday night and Saturday afternoon, both of which dumped a ton of water. And I went ahead and after it finished, I cleaned the yard, so you can see the tire tracks from where the tires were kind of wet, had a little dirt on them, and you know, you run over the grass and it just leaves that color. But really, I mean, it looks pretty good considering. But I'm gonna give you a few shots of the yard and show you what it looks like from a couple different angles, because the sun really makes the rules on angles of shots of grass. But we're also going to talk about what I've been doing in the yard, and something that all Zoysia people probably have an issue with, and that is thatch, and what our options are going to be, and a couple different things we can do to get rid of the thatch. So check out some of these shots of the yard. You can really see how the sun angle is everything on getting good shots on the yard. This is a good angle. So there's that. Here's a quick update on one of my shady spots that we worked on. And what I did was, you've seen what I've done on the video. I'm just keeping it watered and fertilized and cut basically. But my neighbor got some sod and I bought some from him, and I put 4 pieces right there. I still need to get some dirt and just kind of dress it in. But that's a spot that washes out so bad that I just can't get plugs to grow there. And it's a small spot, so you can see it's not very big. But I'm going to show you the shady lane here and what it looks like after we've done everything that we talked about in the shade problem video. So here it is. Oh man, flies reading me up. So it's greening up a little bit. Still waiting on a little bit more. But it's tough to grow Zoysia in shade. But the only light we get is this little window when the sun breaches this little window here. That's about it. Let's go talk about some thatch. The yard's pretty healthy, but you can see that there's some dead material in here. And if you part the grass, I mean, it's just a little dead material, but you see some brown in the yard. And some of that brown is heat stress, but what it is leaf blades are starting to die from a little bit of stress. It's thatch. Thatch is basically just non or undecomposed organic material like stolons and rhizomes and roots and leaf blades and everything that gets stuck on top of the soil. And what can happen is it can form a hydrophobic type layer on top of the soil that prevents water and nutrients and air from penetrating. It becomes like a mat. And what we want to do is we want to talk about 3 ways that I know of getting rid of it. One is you can mechanically dethatch it with a dethatching rake, and what that is spring-loaded tines that you push or pull depending on the implement, and it basically just lightly scarifies the ground and pulls up dead material. The other option, come on Nets, the other option we have as far as using a tool is a handheld dethatcher. It's very labor intensive, and it's really rough on the grass, because as you're working that pointed tine rake into the grass, it does a lot of ripping and tearing. It typically, the mechanical dethatching typically just pulls up the loose dead material. Now something else you can do is you could rent a scarifier, and what that is it is vertically rotating blades that go down and pound the surface of the soil, and it forces all of that material up. So, and that would be also very intrusive and cause some damage. And in this heat, that's something you want to really stay away from in zoysia unless it's very vigorous and you have a good irrigation system that can help maintain that growth and keep it from being so drought stressed in the heat. But what we're going to talk about today is this. When mechanical dethatching is not an option, or if you don't have the tools, whatever the case may be, you can revert to a liquid dethatching product. This is the N-Ext D-Thatch liquid dethatcher. What it does is it has molasses and yeast and humic acid in it, and it basically stimulates microbial activity. And what it does is it feeds the microbes. They populate exponentially, and once they have eaten the simple sugar out of the dethatch material here, they start to eat on the dead undecomposed material in the lawn, converting it into a natural food source for your lawn. So you will probably see a nice green up in this. One thing that's different about dethatch versus any other amendment to your lawn is that the hotter it is outside, the better this works. So I'm going to be using this today. I did purchase this myself, and I'm going to apply most of it out of a hose-end sprayer, but this can also be applied to your lawn with a tank sprayer. Like I said, the hotter it is, the better results you're going to get out of this. It can be applied at the 6 to 9 ounce per thousand rate, and it can be watered in or it can be just left on top. It won't hurt it either way. But we had 2 big storms. I have a lot of moisture in the soil. It's 96 degrees today and I'm sweating like crazy. I've got nothing else to do, so here we go. Before we dive into specifics, let's talk about what causes thatch in your lawn. Well, zoysia is quite prone to it naturally, but you can prevent most of it from happening with good cultural practices. Keep it fertilized at the correct rate. If you over apply fertilizer, it can tend to develop more thatch. Also, cut regularly and cut at the recommended height of 1 to 2 inches. Now, zoysia looks really good cut at 3 inches. The only problem is if you keep it that way for a long time, you will develop thatch, and then you're going to be stuck dealing with that problem. So we're going to go ahead and apply this at the 6 ounce rate, and this can be applied to any turfgrass species and any cultivar in your species, but it can also be applied every 3 weeks or so. But I'm doing the 6 ounce rate, so I could probably assume I can reapply in 2 weeks to continue the breakdown of the dead organic material, in which the microbes that we're going to be feeding will convert some of these locked up nutrients and organic material into a usable food source for our lawn. So let's do it. That is what you want to avoid. All right, about 36 ounces in this container, so 6,000 square feet. I may or may not measure this out correctly. I'm just going to roll with it, see what happens. I said enough of that crap. I have a big yard, so hose end sprayer does not work well for me except if I'm applying it in specific spots. I'm just gonna go ahead and finish it off with the push sprayer. And anyway, if you use a hose end sprayer, make sure you clean it out, rinse it out real good. Same thing with any tank sprayer. Anytime you are done, you need to clean it out so that you don't have problems like I do with staining. Humic acid just stains, it doesn't hurt anything, but if you're using a pesticide or insecticide, you really want to wash that tank out real good. But hang around to the end of the video, I'll show you some more things. I'm gonna go ahead and finish spraying the yard with the push sprayer. For those of you that don't know, you can agitate your tank and stir your tank by recycling back into the tank. Alright, so we're going to do a little experiment with the D-Thatch product. What I have here is a little bit of my homemade seed starting mix, or planting mix that I have, which is about, I don't know, 2 parts peat moss to 1 part black cow compost, and I have a little bit of perlite mixed in here. The perlite's not really going to give us any benefit on the yard, but I had this organic mixture already mixed up. So what we're going to do is apply it right here where I'm standing in kind of a rectangle shape, and we're going to dust it in. We're going to apply our dethatcher, and we're going to come back in a few days or a week and take a look at it and see if this material is starting to break down. We're going to see if we get any color response out of it, and that's how this stuff is supposed to work. Alright, so the principle is the same as any organic fertilizer. What happens is you put down organic material, it takes the microbes and the microbiology a little bit of time to break it down and convert that into a usable food source for your plant. So that's how that works. We're going to do the same thing right here. I'll probably squirt a little water on it to make sure we have good soil contact on it. So I'll let you see it. Here we go. All right, that's about a 5 foot long by maybe 2.5 foot wide section that we did. All right, the same principle applies with dog spots, pea spots. So we're gonna, what I'll call it, paint it black with the D-Thatch, and hopefully that D-Thatch will start breaking down the dead grass that's there and open it up a little bit so the sunlight can hit the soil and warm it up. You can see there's another one there, and then the 2 or 3 spots back behind me. So when you apply D-Thatch from Green County Fertilizer, it will stimulate microbial activity, and it also has a thermogenic effect. The increase in microbial activity will raise the surface temperature of the soil. It's just a natural reaction that occurs. I only sprayed the back where I wanted to, you know, the dog pea spots. You can see where there's a little black circle around them. And there was a couple more back over this way. But anyway, we're gonna go take a look at the garden, and I'll show you the farm here. So this is what I call the farm, and a good third of everything you see has already been plugged out this year and has regrown. Something I need to do is fill in these holes, because if I don't, it's just going to dry out so fast it's all going to turn brown. But I got a joke for you. I want you to spell milk 3 times. M-I-L-K. 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 What do cows drink? Water. Anyway, that was my corny joke for today. So I spent this morning putting some supports up around my cages, and that included burying a 5-foot stake and then tie wrapping it to the cage, because those storms we had the other day, it pulled over the entire cages, and they were already staked into the ground all the way down. So you can see how tall these tomatoes have gotten that they've just flopped over. It's kind of funny, kind of pitiful, but loads of tomatoes on them. Got some bell peppers down here next to them, and then some squash plants, and then we have some bush type green beans that are like a foot tall, but they're producing. And then my tall plants back here behind them are the okra. Then we have some carrots, more bell peppers, and cucumbers. So I know a lot of you watched me start every bit of this from seed and watched me grow it, but I also wanted to go ahead and show you my plug tray farm, where I'm growing Zoysia plugs in trays, and this is it. That's what I have left. Probably sold I've sold a good amount. But something else I'm trying this year is growing Zenith Zoysia, and there's a few trays. I'm also trying my hand out with some Tiff Blair centipede plugs that have started from seed, and I've got them right here. Hey, look who it is, chilling in the shade. So you can see all of these plugs here are Tiff Blair centipede. The 6 trays here on the end were seeded a couple weeks after this first batch, and they're growing better than the Zoysia plugs as far as seed goes. And then I have right here is some more Zenith, and then the plugs with the good grass in them over here is also Zenith. Those are ready to sell, and just waiting for a buyer. And this patch here behind me is also Tiff Blair centipede. But another cool thing you can do with these plug trays is you can propagate your own plants, and if you can find the right trays, you can use those plug trays that fit the Pro Plugger perfectly. So down here, can't see it because of the shade, but down here is some ajuga, and ajuga is a ground cover, and it's the most simple thing in the world. You just like pinch off the root piece and stick it in, and I mean, that's like 2 weeks old. This one right here is probably, I can't even get it out, that's like 4 weeks old. I mean, they're beyond ready to plant. So if you live locally and you want a couple trays of ajuga, I've got them. If I don't sell them, I'm going to plant them in my own flower beds. So you can see my pitiful looking flower bed here. It's got a lot of little peonies in it. Half of them look like they're about to die. I got my great big tomato plants over here that I put in grow bags, and then a whole entire patio full of tomatoes. And this is the entrance to the shady lane from the back side. So this is the shady lane. I'll never get anything to grow in this corner because it is 95% shade right here all the time. But that green stuff in the back is called creeping Jenny. That's another ground cover. Makes for a really good backdrop in a flower bed that's dry. I've got so much flower bed I can't even afford to put mulch in it. So I just let it go. Every now and again I buy a little bit of mulch and put in there. So that does it for today. We're going to bring you something next week if we can get out here and it's not too hot. But thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you next time. Bye.